Welcome to the Worlds Collide podcast.
Welcome to the Worlds Collide podcast. Another win for the conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, a few this week.
Out of California. Yeah. Surprisingly enough. I'll be headed to California next week.
Oh, nice.
Which reminds me, we'll do a double pod.
Oh, that's right.
We'll do a double pod. But yeah, California ruled that fluoride does, in fact, lower the IQ of children.
Yeah, by 2 to 5 points.
Yeah, what they aren't
who's measuring?
Who's measuring? Who cares? What they're not telling you is that the fluoride is a byproduct of aluminum processing, amongst other things, and phosphate and all that other kind of stuff. And they
rather than having to pay
to dump it,
right? They repackaged
it. They paid dentists specifically to say that it's so great for your teeth. And now every time you go to the dentist, they insist on giving you a fluoride treatment.
Yeah. Oh, you told me the Dental Association is still.
Oh yeah,
they're standing by.
They're standing by. Fluoride is good for you.
They are the like when the politician gets caught, sending his nudes out. They are scorned wife standing by fluoride side.
What are you going to do with centralized medicine if you find out that 90% of the stuff that you've been taught is straight BS? What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's no going back. Exactly. What's that woman going to do? She's stood by him all this time. Was she going to rebuild her life?
Right.
Are you going to lose her house on Martha's Vineyard?
You're not going to make yourself look dumb. Right. That's what you're not going to do.
You're going to stand by him and you're going to say it was a mistake and it wasn't his penis.
No, and it's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal if your kids' IQs drop
by 2 to 5 points.
Who cares?
You're probably going to have a little dummy anyway. It's not this politician's fault. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, so
I love the idea.
So that's what's happening. By the way, I had learned this a few years ago about biosolids. Have you heard about biosolids? They sell them back to farmers. It's basically our doo-doo.
Yeah.
And they tell you it's great. It's fertilizer, right? And instead of them having to figure out what to do with the doo-doo, they just sell it back to the farmer
as fertilizer. Human waste as fertilizer.
Right. And if you could imagine what's in the human waste is pharmaceuticals up the wazoo.
Yeah. I mean, so I never fed my dog a raw diet, but I often found myself in the circles of women who did.
Oh. And when you say raw, you mean raw meat?
Yeah, where you just feed them like raw meat and veg and stuff like that. And there's different subscription packages you can buy where they just send it to you and you can just dump it into the bowl, or obviously you can do it yourself. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the women that I spoke to on the streets, on the dog park streets,
on the Bork streets,
would say that they would have less waste. So the dogs were pooping less because they were actually
assimilating the nutrients versus
rather than just pooping out dog cereal.
The cereal, which is what they're giving everybody.
My dog was getting. Yeah. But yeah, so in theory, the human waste probably is some of the worst of the worst if you consider what our diets are.
Man.
I
know. Well, it seems like California's cleaning up the diets too.
That's pretty nice. California's always been kind of on the hip to the trends with stuff like that. They are the reason why everything you buy now from a dollar store or something will say it'll have that Prop 65 warning on it.
Oh,
which warning causes cancer or reproductive harm.
Yeah.
And it's literally every plastic that you see.
It is. There's this really popular store in California called Travel Pockets, correct me, Daiso, Daiso. And it's basically like a Five Below store, but for Asians. And every item in there, all the dishes, all the everything has a little sticker on it that's basically this causes cancer.
Yeah. Which is wild that because when that first came out in the industry that I was working in, when that first came out, it was a huge deal because if something shipped to the state of California, it had to have that sticker warning on it, but only California.
Interesting.
And then buyers in California were calling us flipping out, being you just put this scary ass packaging on our product. Why did you do that? And it's okay, well, we have to comply with your local kind of state laws.
Right.
But what's interesting is over time that ended up rolling out to the rest of the country. And now you see that kind of stuff everywhere.
See.
But in the beginning, it was just the state of California.
So it seems like California does have... And I realized when I lived there too, there is this slant that's more towards health, that's more towards do they let homeless people sleep in front of your $10 million mansion in Venice? Sure.
Do they have a rigorous vaccine schedule for children?
Absolutely. But they also are at the forefront of health.
Yeah, they do care a lot about that stuff. So the other thing that came out this week is that California public schools have banned artificial coloring out of public school meals. So any food that they're serving, anything in the vending machines is not allowed to have, I wrote them down, red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, blue 2, and green 3. And that's found in anything from like stuff you would expect it to find, like sodas and candy, but like it's also in salad dressings and just like all kinds of packaged food that you wouldn't expect.
Why are they doing that?
I don't know, but it does sort of sometimes feel like a grand conspiracy because the stuff is linked to brain cancers, tumors, it's neurotoxins across the board. Like red 40, you don't even have to be mildly interested in the food you eat to know that red 40 causes hyperactivity. Like I think that's like a very common.
I was going to say, I think moms kind of know that too, right? That if you feed it to your kids, that they're going to
that the red
bounce
stuff
off the walls.
Sure. And, you know, for a while, I think they were saying that was the sugar or whatever. But no, it's literally, these are neurotoxins that have been directly like linked to you know, delays in children, autism, things like that. So
isn't that funny? Do you remember, I think we talked about this when we went to Iceland and they didn't have our mac and cheese.
Oh yeah,
because their mac and cheese is not allowed to have those weird food colorings in them
that orange
make it
color.
And all of Europe you're not allowed to, I'm pretty sure.
It's all of Europe, but it's funny that we smuggled it into Iceland. I thought, okay, listen, at the time I was a vegetarian and mac and cheese was high on it was a staple in my diet.
Sure.
The squeeze pouch mac and cheese was a staple in my diet.
Yeah, that's
rich
living.
And we were camping.
That's rich living.
Turns out it's pretty nice for camping.
Yeah. No, it was good. But interesting. So, you know, America's becoming healthy. Make America healthy again.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it a lot. I think that it's crazy because it's not as all encompassing in terms of like getting people from both sides of the aisle as you think it would be. It's definitely more of a
how not. It's you know, Uncle Jack did another podcast.
I know you sent it to me, but it was 4 hours.
Uncle Jack Kruse did the Danny Jones podcast. Danny Jones is probably the #1 podcast in Tampa Bay.
Allegedly.
I think he's out of Indian Rock Speech, but cool. He has cool guests on, and he had Dr. Jack Kruse on for 4 hours talking about, he was rocking the Make America Healthy Again hat. He was rocking the hater blockers, the blue light glasses. He's, you know, the guy's not messing around, and he went in hard for 4 hours.
Tell me. I made it about 20 minutes in, and then I had to get on with it.
Okay, so that was the whole where he dives into like MK Ultra, Kennedy assassination, kind of how everything is all tied and why he knows firsthand why everything is all tied together. But so that was the first 2 hours actually. If you're interested in more of like the health stuff, which is the stuff that really jazzes me up, that was the last 2 hours of it. And his whole thing was, what is happening with our phones, with that brain initiative that is MK Ultra, the new version of it, is these blue light phones and computer screens degrade every bit of our being, and they were designed that way. There's actually a maker of a computer right now that makes screens that don't have any blue light, but it costs way more money to get.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if you happen to miss that episode where we quickly touched on BRAIN is the government program that's half funded by DARPA. That is
under the Obama administration.
Yeah, under the Obama, I want to say like 2011. And that was meant to, they sold it to the American public as that they were going to look into Alzheimer's, but they actually, it seems to be much more nefarious, and that DARPA is using it as like part of like mind control tactics and things like that.
Yes. So the whole, even if you think, this was something I learned and I was disappointed to find out, I always have my screen on the reddest setting at all times and the darkest setting, whether it's daytime or nighttime. I get it. Some people have their phones switched to that at night. But what Jack Kruse said is, too bad, kid. You're not helping yourself. Is that you still need, there are apps that you can download specifically that'll cut all the blue light that emits from your phone. And we talked about this last week, but every time you use facial recognition, it's blasting your face with that too. Yeah. So making sure that best ways you can take care of your health, mitigate blue light. So cut the tech addiction, cut it. I know a lot of people have to sit in front of the computers and work. Get up, wear your blue light blockers if you're having to sit in front of a computer. Don't look at your phone a million times a day. There's a reason why there's those screen reports that show you how many times you pick up your phone. It is designed that way because you get a dopamine hit. And he said everybody is so doped up on everything, on caffeine, on hitting the phone, on scrolling. It gets you excited. And then you're borrowing from tomorrow for today.
Yeah.
And so in turn,
it's
you're like
taking Molly.
It is like taking
It's
Molly.
the reason why I've never taken Molly.
Yeah.
It sounds like way too much fun all at once, but I'm going to pay for it the next day.
You're gonna dump the next day.
Not worth it.
Right.
Not worth it. I don't like feeling low. Not worth it. There's no amount of high that's worth feeling that low the next day.
That's a great so that's exactly what our phones are doing. That's such a great analogy, Ange.
Thank you. We're all on Molly.
We're all on Molly.
We're all rolling, baby.
Yo, the boomers are rolling on Molly.
Yeah, the boomers are the number one rollers. The best was you go to a wedding now, they're on their phones the whole time.
Yo, and then you try to figure out why all the boomers are missing chunks from their face and they call it melanoma and they think it's from the sun. No, dude, it's not from the sun. It's from the blue light, okay?
Ugh.
Okay, you're eating seed oils, you're cooking from within, and then you stare at that blue light phone and you got to get a chunk of your face removed.
Yeah, and then the worst part is them telling them that they're not supposed to be in the sun, right? The one thing that really can help them to heal.
Yeah, and what I love about Uncle Jack and Uncle Jack's chili that he served up to us so spicy.
Over 4 hours.
Over
It's a slow
4
simmer.
hours. It's a simmer, baby. Is that what he is preaching is free. There's no money behind it. Get out and get your sunlight as much as possible. Get out and get your sunlight. He talked this, if you know Dr. Jack Kruse, he talks about Chantel all the time. Chantel is his ER nurse assistant. I don't know what they call them nowadays. Waitresses? What do they call them?
Waitresses in the OR.
Waitresses in the OR, whatever. The one that assists them. Chantel. So Chantel's dad apparently it was in his 70s or 80s and the guy he fell off the roof and broke his leg. He actually had a knee replacement and the knee replacement part went into the tibia and split the tibia. Horrible, right?
Oof.
Dr. Jack Kruse says, my dude, take the keys to my surgery room. You go in. I have a red light panel in there. I'm going to need you to look at it 4 times a day for 20 minutes. 4 times, 20 minutes. Yeah, each time. And then there's little glasses that you're supposed to wear. Mr. Chantel did not wear the glasses, man.
Bless his eyes.
He did not. It turns out you don't need to wear the glasses.
Oh, no way.
He completely healed so well that he didn't need the surgery to fix anything. And the bones, by the way, completely regenerate and heal.
Yeah, I did hear him talking about that at the top of the podcast, that the bone regenerates. That if you break a bone and then you go back in and look at it later, you don't even see the area of where the bone had broken because it completely regenerates. That's pretty incredible. Thanks so much for listening to the Worlds Collide podcast. Now would be a great time to remind you to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. That's right. Comment down below. All that kind of good stuff.
Be nice. Be mean. We don't care. Just comment. It helps the algorithm.
Honestly, that's so true. Even if you want to come and hate watch.
Sometimes we had a guy early on who was very, very Catholic.
Oh, yeah.
And we may have said some things to upset him.
Yeah, he was not happy about us.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about how the Catholic Church owns a third of the world's healthcare. And so they're part of that multi-trillion-dollar scheme that's going on all over the world. But we didn't even mention that. And he was upset with us. So anyway, like and subscribe. It's a great time to follow the Worlds Collide podcast.
I know we should do a better job about posting. People have told me this too about when we have a new podcast. We try to remind people it's a Worlds Collide Wednesday, but we don't always tell people when it's out. We got things going on.
Yeah. Plus, you're either into it or you are. And if you're not into it, I'm pretty chill about it.
Yeah, that's true. This is not for everybody.
Yeah, that's fine.
Uncle Jack's chili is too spicy sometimes.
Yeah, you're all in on the Uncle Jack's chili.
Yo, he is not nice. I can't say it enough how not nice he is.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't seem like a very friendly kind of guy.
Not at all.
But very knowledgeable. Anyway, I think you were saying about how we were talking about how with bone regeneration and
oh yeah, and just the body's ability to regenerate everything. I think that's the most amazing thing. And he was saying these red light panels and how helpful they can be. I know you bought the red light panel and then shit on us about not
using it.
And
now it sits in my bathroom.
And now it sits in your bathroom. Yeah. We should probably hand it to mom. But he said, obviously, sunlight is best.
Sure.
Sunlight is going to be the absolute best. If you are trying to heal literally anything, did you break a bone? Go out in the sun. Right? Do you have a cold? Go out in the sun. Are you fighting with your friends? Go out in the sun. Do you hate yourself and you want to kill yourself? Go out in the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, the sun is really magical in that way. It's funny, I've been going out in the sun a whole lot more since I got that vitamin D report, since I failed my vitamin D report.
You haven't failed anything ever, probably.
Dude, my vitamin D is always pretty low. I think, I don't know, it's probably a number of reasons, but it's funny because the midwife specifically wanted to dig into it with me because she goes, you drink raw milk. She goes, usually women that she's come across, if they drink raw milk, their D levels are quite high. Mm-hmm. So she thought it was a pretty alarming that mine were still so low. So I'm going to up my raw milk intake.
Okay.
I've upped my my fermented cod liver and butter
Okay.
intake. And I have Oh, and I started walking around outside without my contacts on.
Good.
Yeah. So
that's a great one.
When I do my evening walk, I do it. And I did my morning walk this morning without my contacts on too. So
everything's a little blurry.
yeah, just trying to get a little bit more sunshine into my eyeballs in the hopes that I can get my D levels up. She told me she had one woman in her practice that the D level was like 120. Which is 100 points higher roughly than mine.
What?
And she was like, ma'am, is everything okay? You must be supplementing. She was like, yeah, I'm supplementing. Well, she found out that she was supposed to be taking one drop of something and she was doing a whole dropper full. So she was like ODing on vitamin D.
I still can't get down with supplementing vitamin D.
Yeah, I still don't want to. I think the answer is more sunlight.
It always is more sunlight.
Yeah.
85% of the time outside. And now we're coming up on the beautiful season of Florida.
I know.
Just wait.
I know it's been brutal still here in the mornings.
Steamy, especially post-hurricane.
Everything's
steamy.
just wet all the time. Like
Yeah.
we go to the playground, everything's just got like a thin layer of wet to it.
Yeah. By the way, for everybody who reached out wondering if we're okay, Worlds Collide. I know we grew up in Clearwater, Florida, but we since moved north, so we're good.
Yeah, I feel really bad because I was like, I'm not worried about this.
People lost everything.
Yeah, it's pretty devastating. So the next morning, we were out of internet. So we are basically survivors.
Survivors. You should get a ribbon
We were
or
out of
something.
internet for a day, and I live in a...
You should apply for a FEMA check. See if they'll get.
I'm a podcaster, and I had no internet for a day. No, it was tough because I had my friend staying with me, and she was working from home. And so she couldn't work on Friday. So she just chugged a bottle of wine and we ate a charcuterie board.
That's lovely.
It was a nice day. But no, I felt bad because in the morning we went over to the beach. We went across the highway over to the beach and it was just...
devastation.
Yeah, it's humbling. It's humbling to see. So we, at 8 a.m. on Friday morning, people were still like assessing the damage, right?
Yeah.
By the end of that day and into the weekend, that's when you see everybody's belongings on the streets and
Yeah.
like driving around on the streets and just seeing... at the end of their driveways, just everything.
Yeah, I don't
home.
think people realize that when your house floods, is everything has to go. Nothing gets saved.
Yeah, I was reading about it. That I guess it's considered like highly contaminated, the water. So
Sewage spills out into it. That was a big thing when I lived out in LA, is that when it rained, just rain, we wouldn't go surf for how many days afterwards because the sewage and everything that spills into the water. Man. So I know.
we ruined everything.
We sure did.
We have ruined
We sure did. I
everything.
went to the Causeway yesterday. The Honeymoon Island is closed indefinitely.
Oh, yeah.
It got rocked, completely
I bet.
rocked. Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah, and they taped off the causeway too. You know how people pull off on the north
Yeah.
or south side of it, and people broke through the caution tape and
Freedom
they parked their
fighters.
cars. Freedom fighters, and people want to get their sunshine, but probably don't go in the water for a while.
Wow. Well, should have thought of that earlier. I definitely let my son splash around.
Doo-doo water.
Yeah, I definitely let him splash around. It seemed fine.
Did you give him a cup? He loves to do that thing where he gulps.
No, I didn't give him a cup. I'm not a
Good.
monster. I just let him splash around. He was in his jammies. He just got soaked.
He's so cute.
He got big time soaked in the hurricane water. But it was wild. Like all the restaurants and stuff down at the beach, they like you can tell this wasn't their first rodeo. Apparently that beach gets flooded every major storm.
Yeah, so my beach yoga got man, I am like fiending for, as I'm sure my students are, for outdoor yoga and beach yoga, fiending for it. But that place where I teach, that restaurant that you told me about that used to be this tiny little shack that became huge, that it's the restaurant that FEMA built.
Yeah. It used to be an ice cream shack. And now it's like a massive on the water restaurant with like a tiki hut for bars.
Do you remember that old chef Emerald Lagasse?
Yeah.
He had done like some special on Sam's on
He
Hudson
went
Beach.
there?
He went there because he was like, how did you become this little thing that she's like, my dad just kept building it bigger and bigger.
FEMA and FEMA.
Yeah. So not to start another conspiracy, but we don't got to start it. The internet starts them. We just
broadcast.
we just broadcast them. But when you see what the racket a little bit about what's happening here is, first of all, the area is flooded with remediation companies and guys from all over that are here to remediate the problem. So there's that business that gets drummed up, right? And then
And we haven't had a major storm.
And we
all
have-
season. And all they did tell us all season was this one's gonna be a bad one.
Yeah.
We don't know why, but it looks like it's gonna be a bad one.
Bet you wish you would have bought one of those new products that Whitney Webb talked about, is those insurance disaster products.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy because so here's a little info about my house. We have a roof that definitely failed inspection when we bought it. Your girl was supposed to replace it a long time ago and I didn't.
We are currently in an uninsured home.
We are just patching her up as we go. But so like I just kept saying to my husband, like, if this roof makes it through hurricane season, like, beautiful. Like, hell yeah. So it did. It totally made it through the hurricane, and it's just fine. And it turns out little patches is all you need. But like, there are so many people who've been scaring me and saying things like insurance rates are going way up. This was supposed to be a really bad season. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is probably the last hurricane of the season.
Yeah.
I'm still not worried about it. You know, I was just like going into it, like not really worried about it. I went to bed at like 8 p.m. The storm started like at 9 or 10 p.m. I went to bed before the storm even started.
The problem is if you have a mortgage, you are legally required to carry insurance.
Yeah.
So that's where people are getting like,
they're screwed.
You'll own nothing and you'll like it. They're making it happen. What did they say by 2030? We got another 6 years of this. 5 years now, almost.
Yeah, I mean, between property taxes and insurance, they're pricing people out of even just their regular old homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I owned my first home that I actually lived in, when I learned that you forever are paying all this stuff, I was like, so you don't actually ever own the home. And when you realize that, you're like, what? Listen, Uncle Jack was saying it. Bring a republic. We need to get everybody back together. We the people. Not left, not right. We the people.
Oh, he's calling for a little revolution.
Big time.
Me likey.
It's why he's living in El Salvador currently. His last surgery was August 6th of this year.
Yeah.
That guy's not performing. He's a neurosurgeon. He's not performing any more brain surgeries.
Yeah, he got the, I guess the president of El Salvador recruited him.
Yeah.
Specifically because they were trying to figure out why everybody was getting so sick over these COVID vaccines. So they recruited the crazy doctor from Twitter, which that was the part I did hear from the podcast, is that the reason why Dr. Kruse wasn't censored on Twitter when everybody else was.
Jack Dorsey thing.
Yes. So there was the Disinformation Dozen. So that was like Kelly Brogan, Tom Cowan,
Christiane Northrup, I think, was on
RFK Jr. was on it. Like, they just suspended everybody's social media during COVID for speaking out. But I guess he was Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, former owner of Twitter's like personal doctor, and that specifically he didn't get his spine fused by Dr. Kruse. He was helping him with the crazy blue light stuff, specifically that he had
a blue light addiction.
Yeah, tech issues was, I think, how he called it.
But same thing with Rick Rubin, which is why he was on Rick Rubin's podcast. And they're trying to, I always tell this story. It was like a couple days before your baby shower. And I went to, we checked into the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota. We did mushrooms and we watched a Rick Rubin interview, and it could have been the mushrooms. We could not stop staring at Rick Rubin's hands. We're like, this guy is like, what happened to Rick Rubin? He has like baby hands. It's almost like he's like going backwards in time. What is this guy doing?
Meaning that they're small or that they look youthful?
Youthful and smooth. And I was like, how did this guy, and he had lost like this crazy amount of weight and all this other kind of stuff. Well, Dr. Jack Kruse did surgery on him. He worked with Jack Dorsey and Rick Rubin, and then basically told Rick Rubin, you know how you've been wearing them sunglasses at night and living this terrible lifestyle? Like, this is what you need to be doing.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
He made Rick Rubin's hands go backwards.
I can have soft little
hands. Again, maybe it was the mushrooms, but I suggest you watch Rick Rubin. Honestly, Rick Rubin talking about creativity in general is really inspiring.
Yeah, it's always very interesting. But yeah, I'm obviously all in on the sunlight.
When are we bringing the pod outside?
As soon as we can get some internet out there.
Oh, is that what we need?
Yeah, we're up against internet issues. So that's the thing.
Maybe Elon Musk will drop a satellite right on top of your home.
Inshallah. No, what I was going to say is, so the reason why I'm a Hurricane Helene survivor is that I had no internet for 24 hours, is that I have no anything. Like, you don't have cell reception up here. Like, there's just, I live in the sticks. And something specifically about this plot of land, that there is no... there's no service. So like when we were redoing the house when we first bought it and we would come up here, like you couldn't get calls from contractors and stuff. So it was like
texts don't go through
here.
Text
don't go through. Yeah. If I'm trying to text Android, see ya.
Yeah. I like it though. It's kind of a bubble.
Yeah, I do too, except it was like a little bit stressful because I was curious what all had happened with the storm. I was really like out of the loop.
Yeah. Honestly, until you get into your car and you drive west of US 19,
so that's
where you see what happens.
Yeah, that's why we ended up doing that. Yeah. But yeah, so like I couldn't
But the city is stronger together.
Yeah, that's probably the coolest part is seeing how people are getting together and helping one another. So like, I was just cleaning up some debris in the front yard. It was pretty nominal. But you know, somebody drove by, I saw a big fat pregnant lady picking up debris and was like, hey, like, do you need any help? I'm driving around the neighborhood and getting help. And I was like, no, we're okay. But like just a couple of houses down, they had a big oak tree that had a bunch of fallen branches, and they're an older couple. So I sent him over there, and he didn't even knock on the door. He just pulled the car over and just started moving stuff. Yeah. Very, very cool.
That's been so cool. I was over at Billy's as soon as that happened, and there was a woman.
Cash, grass, or ass.
Cash, grass, or ass. Billy, the consigliere, of course. Everybody knows Billy. And a woman was just driving by in a minivan, and she's like, I got bottles of water and toothbrushes. She's like, does anybody need anything?
That's so sweet.
Just like people were trying to figure out how can they help.
Man, people are obsessed with brushing their teeth, man.
I know. It's really last on my list. Last on my list.
Too much. Please. If the power goes out, it was just not on my list.
Honestly, I think it's a nice little... I don't know. I always kind of wish
see what's important to them.
I know. I always kind of wish they cut the power out a little, you know. Test me. It's good. It's good for the brain. It's good for the eyes. It's good for everything.
No, dude. No air conditioning. I can't. I need air conditioning. I know what Kanye West says about air conditioning, and still.
Yeah.
It's too hot right now.
Yeah.
Catch me in like a month or two and I'll be like, yeah, no power.
I know, but I wonder too is there was a time in Florida where there was no air conditioning. How did people acclimate?
The population was like significantly lower. And people thought those people who lived here were crazy.
Yeah, but somebody reminded me that people dressed up in suits and petticoats and all these nice little things here. Okay?
Yeah, they also had homes that were empty down the center so they could actually get the cross breeze through the home.
Yeah.
But the homes were just built differently.
But I have a feeling too is we were able to withstand different temperatures more. I think we've become soft.
Yeah, for sure I'm soft.
100p. You're pregnant, you're allowed to be soft.
100p, I'm soft.
You're allowed to be soft.
Yeah, if I don't get a snack in time, I can be pretty unruly.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I can be kind of a jerk if I don't get a snack in time.
You're one of those, huh?
Yeah, I think that's specific to like pregnancy and breastfeeding. I don't think I was as much of a... I don't even know what the word is for that. Just asshole. I think I wasn't as much of one before this, but yeah, since pregnancy, breastfeeding, and then pregnancy again, yeah. Your girl is hungry.
Your girl's hungry. Well, keep tuning in, guys. If you want to find out what kind of kid Angie's having, is it a boy? Is it a girl? Who knows?
Yeah, we'll find out in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Also, keep tuning in if you want to hear more and more conspiracy theories that come true. We just report them. We don't make them up.
We don't look. It's not my fault that the things that we say with time end up being the truth.
No.
But also, don't feed your kids any artificial coloring. If the state of California is not giving them to them in public schools, you shouldn't be doing it at home either.
Yeah. Also, go outside as much as possible. We're going to go do that as soon as we end this.
When does beach yoga come back?
Hopefully this weekend. Also, I'm doing that stand-up paddleboard yoga little workshop. I don't know if anybody's interested or if it's tone deaf to even post about it and be like, on Sunday, if anybody wants to come, Wiki Watchy, we're going to Kayak King. We're going to do a little paddle out on stand-up paddleboards. You can bring your own or you can rent one there. And we're going to do a little yoga on the board. And before you tell me I can't do yoga on a stand-up paddleboard, the boards are thick. They're designed for people way bigger than you to go on those things. Yeah. You can do it.
Yeah, I see dogs on those all the time.
Yeah, dude. And we're just going to have fun. Come out. Come out to Wiki Watchy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah?
We'll see. We'll see.
But yeah, and hopefully beach yoga's back. Otherwise, I don't know where we're going to do. My students are fiending for it, and so am I. If anybody knows where I can shoot some yoga, let me know.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll see y'all.
Yeah. Love you guys. Bye.
We have real light out there and real air, but we're using air conditioning and artificial light. That's just retarded.